everyone, and welcome to my channel. If you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back. I truly appreciate it. And if you're new, welcome. I'm Lydia, and this is Vintage Nectarines. Today's video is one I feel so bad about not having up until now. Guys, the lovely Nina from Wrestling with Disney and Abby from the Disney Sisters came up with this really fun Disney Attractions book tag. And the wonderfully sweet Abby from the Disney Sisters tagged me in it almost a month ago. I'm so sorry, Abby. I'm a horrible taggy. Please forgive me. And I just haven't had a chance to film it until now, but today is the day and I'm so excited to chat books. Most of the books that I'll be talking about today aren't actually Disney books. It's just the books that I felt fit the theme of the Disney attraction that they were inspired to fit. But I'm really excited to chat about them. There are 10 attractions that we're gonna be using as our prompt. So let's jump into the first one, which is Splash Mountain, a book that didn't age well. I know some people are not going to be super happy with the book I picked. Let me just say, when they came out, I loved them. I binge read them. I consumed them. They were everything I wrapped my brain around while reading them. When the movies came out, I loved them. I was obsessed with them. And I will still, always and forever, remain Team Edward. But guys, Twilight has become a little cringy for me. Maybe it's because I have my own teenage daughter now and no, I don't know. I just can't handle it. Mostly Eclipse. Eclipse is the one that I struggle with the most. Well, New Moon is the book and movie that I probably like the least, but Eclipse is really hard for me because I think Jacob in this book is so whiny and it just, I don't know. This book is just, I just don't feel it aged well. So I know a lot of people are probably shouting at me because yes, Twilight, everyone loves it. And I understand that. Well, not everyone, some people don't, but most people do. And so if you're a Twilight fan, I'm sorry if I'm offending you. I don't mean to, because I did. There was a place in time when I absolutely loved everything about the Twilight series. And like I said, I will always and forever be Team Edward. But as I age, they just don't age well with me, in my opinion, especially book number 3. Moving on, Country Bear Jamboree, a book with a great ensemble cast. Oh my goodness. Seasons of the Storm. This is an exclusive dust jacket that I got as part of a Bookish Box add-on. So the original just looks like this, which is also absolutely beautiful. And this is by El Casamino. I found myself loving the secondary characters in this book almost as much as the main characters. I can't really go into it a lot without giving it away. I will be having kind of a more in-depth review of it at some point on the channel, but basically it's about these teenagers who pass away for one reason or another. And instead of just moving on to the afterlife, they come back as seasons. And so with each season, they're born and they walk amongst us and, change the seasons. Well, each of them has a handler. And the handlers are kind of those secondary characters that I found myself falling very much in love with. I 100% recommend this book. I'm so excited to read the second one. I didn't realize when reading the first one that there is a second one, and the end does have this okay, now what? So I absolutely recommend this book and I love it. And like I said, there are some secondary characters that I enjoyed even more than the main characters. Okay, next up on the list is Enchanted Tiki Room, a classic that is joyful. I actually have 2 for this one. Just by honorable mention, you can't include a joyful classic and not talk about Winnie the Pooh. So here I have a complete Tales and Poems of Winnie the Pooh. And I absolutely love this book. If I do remember correctly, I believe my grandmother gave this book to me. But Winnie the Pooh is just so joyful. And Abby actually said that Winnie the Pooh is her favorite classic, which I totally understand. I just love pictures in here. Pooh on the tree with his head. Just even Eeyore has a sweetness and joyfulness about him, and he's supposed to be the hum-glum character of the bunch. But I love that. But my absolute favorite joyful classic is hands down Peter Rabbit. Oh, you guys, I have loved Peter Rabbit from the time I was a little girl. I had a Peter Rabbit quilt in my room when I was a little girl that my great-grandmother and my mother made. And when my oldest daughter was born, I actually made her nursery into a Peter Rabbit theme. I have this adorable little Peter Rabbit planter on my bookshelf. I just love Peter Rabbit. I'm actually right now trying to convince my husband that we need to get a bunny and name him Beatrix, or her Beatrix, or a duck and name it Puddle Duck. You guys, I love Peter Rabbit. I have this beautiful box set that was a gift for my daughter's nursery, and it has all of the stories in it. This box actually includes 23 books. Of course, The Tale of Peter Rabbit, The Tale of Squirrel Nutkin, Benjamin Bunny, The Two Bad Mice, Jeremy Fisher, Tom Kitten, Jemima Puddle Duck, The Flopsy Bunnies, and so many more. I love all of this. This entire little group of characters with their hats and their jackets. And out in our Wonderland garden, I'm also creating a little area that's like a Peter Rabbit area because Peter Rabbit has always just brought me so much joy. So this would definitely be my #1 pick for the Enchanted Tiki Room, a classic that brings you joy. Next up on the list is Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, which is hands down my favorite railroad in all of Disney World. I love that ride so much. Although when we were there last, the Seven Dwarfs Mine Train had just opened, and my daughter and I were in line to go on it, and then something happened and the ride stopped, and then we never ended up going back on it. So we haven't been on that one yet. So after we go on that one, my opinion may change. But I still love Big Thunder Mountain. I think it is such a fun ride. And Big Thunder Mountain's prompt is a book that is action-packed. For me, that is the entire Hunger Games series. We love that series here in this house. We liked the books, we loved the movies, we love all of the characters. Katniss, Peeta, Finn, even Effie with her crazy hair and her crazy dress. We really, really love that. And it always, when reading it and while watching it, had me on the edge of my seat, wondering what was going to happen. From the very moment that Katniss offered herself as tribute in place of her sister, I was completely hooked. And I do not think that you could talk about a book that was action-packed and not consider The Hunger Games. So if you have not read it, which I'm sure most of you have, I 100% recommend it, but I also really recommend the movies. I'm usually a prefers the book to the movie kind of gal, but with Hunger Games, I really enjoyed both. So I would definitely recommend both reading and watching. Next is The Jungle Cruise, and it's a book that made you laugh. And it is really kind of my, aside from Winnie the Pooh, first Disney book. Grump! So this is Grump, The Fairly True Tale of Snow White and the Seven by Liesl Shurtleff. And I also will be talking about this book hopefully soon on the channel. It is a retelling, of course, of Snow White told from the point of view of Grumpy. This book. I loved it so much. I was laughing the entire time. There are also 3 other books in this series. Jack, The Fairly True Tale of Jack and the Beanstalk, Rump, of course, the Fairly True Tale of Rumpelstiltskin, and Red, The Fairly True Tale of Red Riding Hood. I have not read these 3 yet, but I cannot wait because this book was so fun to read and such a funny and unique take on the world of Snow White. A good portion of it is about Grump and how he and the other dwarves live underground, and what they actually do with the gems and jewels and stones that they find under there, and what they think we do with them and how that's ridiculous. So I definitely recommend this. It is a middle grade, younger kids read, but I enjoyed it, and I think, yeah, I would recommend it to anyone. It is such a funny book, and it's really funny to get kind of a bird's eye view of Snow White's world from the point of view of one of my favorite dwarves of all time, Grump. So I definitely recommend that. Next up is It's a Small World, a book set in an international setting. I really struggled with this one. I don't know why, because I actually read a lot of historical fiction books and books that are set all over the world, but I struggled to find one that I thought went perfectly with this. And I actually ended up with The Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society by Mary Ann Schaefer and Annie Barrows. If you have been a viewer of my channel for a while, you know that last August, during one of my Vlogust videos, I talked about this book as being one of the, I think 6 books I couldn't put down. This book is so amazing, and it's about a group of people who live on the island of Guernsey during the German occupation of the island during World War II. So it's kind of written in a dual narrative. It's written from the perspective of the group of Guernsey Society members, as well as a author who received a letter from one of the members, and so it kind of goes back and forth between their 2 narratives. They have already made this into a movie, which was also good. It's again one of those ones where I definitely preferred the book more because you get more in depth with the characters from the society, but the movie was also very good, and I would recommend both reading and watching. I definitely say read first. But so it's not only set on the island of Guernsey, but it's also set in London, where the author lives, and it's an incredible book. Very sad, as most World War II books are, but also has kind of a sense of hope as well. So I definitely recommend that book, and I thought it was perfect for It's a Small World after all, because those members of this society who kind of got stuck on the island during the occupation, their world became very small, and in the end it kind of opens up again when they meet the author that they start corresponding with. So 100% recommend that book. It's very good. Next up is The Haunted Mansion, a book that haunted or stuck with you. Okay, also love Haunted Mansion. And for this prompt, I am going to be talking about my absolute hands down favorite book of all time. And if, again, you've been a viewer for a long time, you know exactly what book I'm talking about. I was counting the other day, and I actually own 10 different copies of this book. The one I'm going to show is my absolute favorite because it is gorgeous. But Wuthering Heights. This book bewitched me from the very first time I ever read it, which was so many years ago. I think I was in junior high, and now I read it every year at Christmas time. I can't even honestly tell you what it is about this book that has stuck with me, but there's just something about the bond and connection between our 2 main characters of Catherine and Heathcliff, and just how they are so drawn to each other, and how beautiful and tragic their love story is. It is, of course, by Emily Bronte, who is my favorite of the Bronte sisters, and this is the Seasons edition, Winter, and my best friend Rachel gave this to me for my birthday, I believe in 2019. So the outside of the book is gorgeous, but then inside we also have these beautiful illustrations and quotes. So this is a book that has definitely haunted, bewitched, and stuck with me. Next up is Spaceship Earth, a book set in a historical time period, and I chose The Girl Who Came Home by Hazel Gaynor, who is one of my favorite authors. I've read several of her books, and her books would have also been perfect for the It's a Small World prompt, because she writes very many books that are based in Ireland and London and parts of Europe. This one is actually based in 2 dual time periods as well, in Ireland in 1912 and in Chicago in 1982. And it is based off of a true story. It's inspired by a group of immigrants from Adargul who get on the Titanic in 1912, and all of them except for, I believe, 3, of course, perish on the Titanic. In the book, not as many of them make it home. So Hazel does definitely change the story and make it her own, but it is based on true events, and it is a beautifully written book. And even though, you know, as the reader, I know what happens on the Titanic, you're definitely rooting for all the characters, and you are hoping for the best for all of them. So it's told from the perspective of our main character, Maggie Murphy, who is, of course, the passenger on the Titanic, and then from her great-granddaughter, Grace, in Chicago in 1982, when Maggie tells her the story of her time on the Titanic. So also 100% recommend any of Hazel's books, but definitely this one. Okay, next is Tower of Terror, a book that intimidates you. I also struggled with this one because I can honestly say I'm not really intimidated by books. Like, I've read books. One of my favorite authors is Kate Morton, and her books are usually no less than like 400 and some odd pages. So big books don't necessarily intimidate me. Historical books don't intimidate me. But when thinking about it, there is a book series that I have not read yet because so many people love it. But it is a big series, and I have heard that like once you start reading it, you kind of have to just jump in and fully commit. My best friend Rachel just finished reading it and she loved it. But that is the Court of Thorn and Roses series. I haven't read it yet because of 2 things. Like I said, I don't know that I have enough time to become obsessed with it because I know that's probably what's going to happen. But I'm also like, what if I don't like it? Does that happen to anyone other than me? Like, if someone loves a book and they're like, oh, you have to read this, and then I read it and I don't like it, I feel really bad. Like, but they loved it and I don't like it. Is that just me? I do that all the time. I love to buddy read with people, but I'm sometimes intimidated by that because I'm like, what if they hate it and I love it? Or what if they love it and I hate it? But I have to say, that is probably the book or series that right now intimidates me the most. Like I said, I'm not usually intimidated by books, but the A Court of Thorn and Roses is probably the series that has me intimidated right now. Let me know in the comments below. Have you read it? Did you love it? Did you not? Should I give it a try? Rachel's definitely giving me all the thumbs up. Read it for sure. So let me know what you think. And then last but definitely not least is Flight of Passage, a book that features your favorite fictional world. Now, I know if you are a longtime viewer, you would automatically assume that my favorite fictional world is Wonderland. And yes, I do love Wonderland. And there are so many amazing books inspired by that. I am currently reading the Splintered series. Unhinged is next on my list. I was supposed to read it in June, but didn't get to it. It's okay. Heartless, Amber just gave me on birthday, which I'm so excited to read. And as much as I love Wonderland, it is not actually my favorite. It would be my second favorite, followed quickly by Harry Potter and all of Hogwarts. But my hands down absolute favorite fictional world that really kind of grew my love of fantasy reading. Can anyone guess what it is? Anyone guess? Lord of the Rings. Guys, J.R.R. Tolkien's beautiful worlds that he has created, like Rivendell and Middle-earth and Lothlorien. I love it so much. I read those years ago and have loved them ever since. My daughter Jillian is currently reading them and is loving them. And we watch the movies every year in March because even though they're not Irish per se. They have that Irish Celtic feel about them with the greenery and the music and the surroundings. And I just absolutely love them. Absolutely love them. I actually did a craft based on a Hobbit door and made a wreath with my friend Rachel. I'll leave that video linked below so you can see it. It was such a fun craft and I absolutely love how my wreath turned out. But Lord of the Rings is 100% the books that have my favorite fictional world in them. I love them so much. It is again a book that I say definitely read. They are long because Tolkien is very good at describing things in so much detail. But the movies, y'all need to watch them. Legolas. Let's just Legolas. I love him. Love him. I would definitely recommend both watching and reading if you haven't, which I'm sure you probably have. But anyway, this was such a fun book tag. I hope you enjoyed watching. Please let me know in the comments below what books you would pick for these prompts. Have you read any of the books that I talked about? Do you like them? And thank you so much to Nina and Abby for coming up with this really fun book tag prompt and video idea. Thank you so much, Abby, for tagging me. I am so sorry again that I didn't do it until now. I'm a horrible taggy. Guys, I promise I'm not normally this bad. If you tag me in something, I usually try to do it quickly. This month has just been crazy. But thank you so much, Abby, for tagging me. I'm going to leave both Nina and Abby's videos linked below. Please go watch them and give them some love if you haven't already seen them. I believe Nicole was tagged as well by Nina, Nicole of Irresistible Magic. I will leave her video linked below as well because she has already made hers and she filmed hers with her daughter, which is always fun to watch. I love getting her daughter's perspective on books too. So I thought about doing it with my daughter, Jillian. I will definitely have her on the channel to talk books at some point because she loves books just as much as I do. I just didn't do it today. But I am going to tag my amazing Disney pal and friend, Amber of the Most Magical 5, and Lindsay from Oodalali Crafts and Fun, who just her Disney channel, so please go check her out. I will leave both of them linked below. So yeah, thank you so much for hanging out today, guys. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Please give it a hit that subscribe button and the notification bell if you'd like to be notified anytime we have new content on the channel. I'm hoping to have some more book things coming up soon. So until next time, bye.